All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results, positive or not.
To the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the body alchemist, SunMoon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. We have a very interesting podcast for you. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. We're going to be reading some of the questions that we get from the listeners out there like you. We got one question that was geared to me that I thought was rather interesting. We're going to get to that. It's dealing with relationships. I, myself, am no relationship expert, but it was geared to me, so I'm going to do my best to try to answer this question. And see how this goes, but it's going to be very interesting. We're going to be talking a little bit about supplementation, certain supplements you can use to help your physical body if you're trying to maintain specifics within your diet, whereas losing weight or gaining muscle mass. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're also going to be just like I said, reading some of the questions that you all have sent in to us here at the De La Fit podcast. So this is going to be quite enjoyable. I'm actually going to turn off this fan where I record. Many of you don't know the little studio that I record in. We have a fan. It can get really hot in here, but it's blowing up a lot of wind. So if you excuse me a second while I just dip back for a moment and gonna grab this automated control. Oh, that's a lot better right there. So we're gonna get into this first question, which is again dealing with relationships. And before I get into this, I just want to say to everybody, I am not a relationship expert. That's why I bring on experts for certain topics that we're speaking about. This actually came in at a time where I wasn't able to contact the individuals that I would normally contact so that they could actually come on to the show and talk. Because the thing of it is that a lot of the professionals that we talk to, that we inquire to come on to the show, they're extremely busy. Even doing this podcast for myself makes me extremely busy, along with other things that I'm doing, people I'm training. Just it's a busy schedule. So, but this one, I was talking to a friend of mine. They said, you should answer it. It is geared to you, but I'm going to do my best, and we're going to go with it. So I'm going to pop it up really quickly. I think this is going to be interesting. Let's see. Everything gets sent to my phone. That's the other thing. For everybody that's listening out there, I try to make things easier for me. This is a rather long one, so we're gonna get to it, and bear with me here. So first things first, the individual who refers to themselves as S.Ron. S.Ron sent me a message, and he says, "Dear Dr. Bay, first things first, I am not a doctor. I have no PhD, MDD, DDS, or any of those things." All right. So, just so that S.Ron, I am not a doctor, for everybody out there as well. At the beginning of this month, I reached this new level of happiness with my relationship. I recognize that I have a genuine love for all of the female friends in my life, and it's nothing I can do about it. As I reflected on my failure with the opposite sex, I realized I was misinterpreting the nature of romance. I was demanding monogamy from them until I discovered the beauty of what I like to call platonic romance, non-sexual unity that inspires the freedom to be affectionate and express admiration verbally. However, this new ideology isn't well understood in our society. There are visible boundaries in place that make us use standardized labels for love. I still respect monogamy. Excuse me. A little allergies, guys. Bear with me. But I see so many people in these committed relationships that act like they are happy, but are secretly unstable, dysfunctional, and dependent on the partner. I am not opposed to having a friend with benefits. Neither am I opposed to a committed relationship. But why must it be so black and white? And if I have a homegirl that is truly my friend, what should it matter if she is in a committed sexual relationship? If all I want to do is continue to be there for them in a platonic way. My homegirl recently got in a relationship who believes our relationship doesn't have to change. And I asked her, what is the difference between being nice to being sweet? She didn't have an answer. Okay, S.Ron. I'm going to try to answer this. It's a little confusing, first of all, but we're going to start at the beginning. So, and I'm going to preface this or make a disclaimer for everybody out there that's listening. Again, I'm not a relationship expert. In fact, I'll give you the basic truth of me. I'm single at this moment. Dating is one of my worst subjects. Most of my friends are married. Most of my friends have children. So I am not the person you necessarily might want to talk about that. I'm working on myself as well. But since the question was geared to me, I'm just going to say this. First things first, screw what everybody thinks. So you're saying that, the Western world or conventional world doesn't understand the relationships that, or how your relationships of platonic romance are acting. I mean, the thing of it is the key word is platonic. If you're a friend, you're a friend. It seems to me as though you have already or you're accepting of the rules of the relationships that you and your female friends have. And the rules are basically that, it's a platonic relationship and you are respecting of them. They're respecting of you. You're there for them. And you, from what it is that you're saying, you admire them. And when you want to tell them that, you tell them that. I don't see anything wrong with that. Again, I'm not a relationship guru. It's not something, I even pretend to remotely be. I'm constantly working on myself. But where it comes to the situation of you saying most people don't understand that, I would say the general knowledge that the society functions on is really a lot of ignorance. And that's not to say that people are just ignorant because they want to be ignorant. A lot of the things that we have been taught that we're finding out more and more every day, is the truth is not necessarily truth. It might be the truth for one person, from one particular individual, or I should say a specific group of individuals or a specific type of individual. But we are individuals. So with that being said, I would say continue your friendship and being platonic. Now, and I'll give you an example of myself. I have a lot of women friends. I always had a lot of women friends. And what's funny, I was that guy that women could come and talk to, and I was that guy, the guy that always winded up in the friend zone. So again, like I said, I'm not a relationship guru, but I was the friend zone guy. And I took a lot of self-development and learning of myself in order to learn how to communicate my feelings to individuals. A lot of the times I would get put in the friend zone because I didn't know how to properly communicate. Now, there were friends I generally were just friends with. I was just cool. I have a lot of women friends to this day that they're just like sisters to me. And I've always valued that because I learned a lot. Part of me learning to communicate to women some of my feelings was because of them. Not only that, because of a lot of the women in my family. So the thing of it is that it's really being honest with yourself. That's what I would say. Pardon me, these allergies, guys. And also the fact of just being honest with them. That was the most important. Now, the other thing of it is that you're saying about the difference between nice and sweet. I don't know. I don't even know, honestly, why that question came up or why is that a big deal within this whole conversation. It seems to me what I do see that you are still developing who you are where it comes to relationships. And that's not a bad thing. It sounds like you're in the process of growth. And the process of growth for you is that, what do you want? What do you want as an individual? How do you want to be treated? How you want to treat others? And I would say to you, as long as you always have truth as your beacon or as the marker. And when I say truth, I give you an example. Like I said, I have a lot of women friends. As I grew older, I started to realize with a lot of communication, with a lot of self-analyzation, talking to individuals and really learning more about myself that, a closed mouth does not get fed. So what do I want out of a relationship? And I learned, open up, tell a person. They can only say yes or no. That's it. For me, the thing of it is I just got to a point where I'm going to display what I want. I'm going to tell that person what I'm here for. I'm not going to waste time because time is short. At any time, it could be over. And that's just the truth. So for me, and I'm giving you this tidbit of advice, it's like, don't be afraid to say what's on your mind. Be diplomatic. You don't have to be brutish. You don't have to be ignorant, but say what's on your mind in a constructive way. Let that person or individual know that how you feel. And you can only get a yes, no, or I don't know. And that's it. So again, I'm not a relationship counselor. I don't claim to be. I'm not any of that. But I would say for you, it's just what it sounds like. It sounds like you're still developing who you are. And if the individuals in your circle, these young women, respect you, and you can communicate with them and be friends with them, hey, and it works for you all, hey, that's fine, but again, I would say understand who you are. That's it. Understand who you are first. And once you understand who you are, what you're about, what you want, learn to communicate that. Those are the two biggest things advice I would give to you. I hope it's not long-winded. Like I said, my thing is I'm not a relationship counselor or anything like that. But as an advice, if you were a friend of mine or an associate of mine, I would say to you, learn who you are, learn what you're about, really know what that is, and learn how to communicate that. Develop principles around that and don't ever break those principles. Don't break them for anybody. What's going to take place that has worked for me is that people, after a while, they learn to accept that about you. Oh, this is that person, and we're going to communicate within those positive, loving guidelines and roles. And if that person doesn't function within that, I would say that's when you learn to end that relationship. So I hope I answered your question, Estat. Thank you for sending it to us. If any of you out there in the listening land, the podcast world, want to send us a message here at the De La Fit Podcast, you can do that at www.delafitpodcast.com. You can go to the messenger, or you can send it to our email, which is delafit13@gmail.com. We also have a phone number you can call if you want to leave us a voice message about any topic that you want us to speak on. If you want us to bring a specific guest or a professional to talk about a topic, things of that nature. Also, if you're listening to us on Anchor, you can go down to I believe it's our notes or our bio, and it's a section in there that you can actually click on and leave your voice message too. So that's actually another simple part that you can do that. So we're going to move on to our next segment, or I should say our next question, which we got from Mama C, who has actually called in a few times before. Actually, she sends messages, and she also sent a voice message. I don't know if you all heard it last week, but it was awesome. And she wants to know a little bit more about supplementation. So she goes on to say, what's going on, De La Fit? I like listening to the show. I would like to know a little bit more about supplementation where it comes to protein and my diet. They're saying I'm not getting enough protein in my diet, and I want to add a little bit more to it, as far as, or I would like to know different other variations of protein that I can add to my diet. Okay, kind of butchered that text right there, but so Mama C, I'm gonna break down some talk about a little bit of supplementation. I'm gonna actually do that a little later in the podcast, because I'm gonna be breaking down some vegan and vegetarian supplementations, but I can go over quickly some that I currently use, which is hemp seed. I like using hemp seed and hemp powder, primarily because it has such a all around purpose use. It's great on salads. You can put it in a smoothie. You can use it as protein powdered drink or something of that nature, and I really like it. I in the Philadelphia area, I go to a place called Nuts to You, and shout out to Nuts to You. They're a great place. If you ever go there, they have all types of delicious organic types of snacks and foods and things like that, all right there, like peanut butter made right there, organic peanut butter straight from the peanut, no added preservatives or anything like that. So if you're in the Philadelphia area, or if you want to go to Nuts to You, I believe they're online, and you can kind of Google that and see if you can find their information. But they have a variety of great things there. I really love them. I've been using them for years. But their hemp seed, I like going and getting their hemp seeds in the shell. And it's delicious. Some versions or some companies that I've had their hemp seed, their shelled hemp seed or hulled hemp seed that they talk about, it has a bittery taste. Whatever it is that Nuts to You, the type that they get, or whatever their process is, it has a slightly sweet, not an aggressive sweetness, but it's a lightness that I like. And I use it again in my whenever I'm making a smoothie, or I want to add more protein to my meals or things like that. And it's awesome, and it's relatively inexpensive. I like their products. So hemp seed is one of the things that I use when it comes to supplementation. So and I'm gonna go on later and actually talk about some other types of vegetarian and vegan proteins, and maybe some other proteins that are outside of the vegetarian and vegan diet, for those out there that may be looking for some type of protein supplementation in their diet or supplements in their diet. I don't really talk a lot about supplements on the show, only because I use certain supplements. But again, when you're using and talking about supplements and things like that, a lot of things are very individual. Not to mention that you have to be very careful, because everybody's physical reaction is different, and everybody have different things going on with their bodies that, you just don't want to say, oh, just grab this and grab that, because there's so many things going on with us, so we're going to have a conversation later in the podcast, and we're going to talk a little bit more about certain types of supplements you can research. But hemp seed is one of the things I do like to use as part of my diet. So Mama C, I hope that helps. Anyway, we're going to go on. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to bring it back and talk a little bit about supplementation and some other great things. But you know where you are. You're here with the De La Fit Podcast, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. Kick your feet up, grab your favorite chair, relax. You're home with us. the De La Fit Podcast. Hey, De La Fit Podcast listeners. Want to share your opinions, give feedback, or tell me what you're thinking? Send me a voice message. Voice messages are an easy way for you to send me audio that might end up in a future episode of the De La Fit Podcast. They're the latest feature from Anchor, the platform I use to make this podcast. Here are some of the things I'd like to hear from you. Questions you may have for me, future topics, and or types of guests you would like us to reach out to. You can send me a voice message right now from wherever you're listening. Just tap the link in my show notes. I can't wait to hear from you.
It's time for another podcast excursion. Join us. We are the De La Fit Podcast.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit Podcast.
Welcome back to the De La Fit Podcast, everybody. So, if you listened to us in the earlier portion of the podcast, we had a text from Mama C, who is a listener, and she wanted to know about a little bit more about protein supplementation and supplements in general. So, that's something I typically don't talk about a lot, just because of the fact it's a very individualized subject. And whenever you're talking about supplementation and people are very unique, as we all know. Not only are we very unique, but the other thing of it is that I don't like to get into conversations because people tend to take things generally. And if you have a pre-existing condition, everything's not going to work for you, and then certain things can exacerbate certain other things within your body. So before we get into this conversation, I would say to you, talk to your physician or whoever it is that's in charge, or you charge with your health. Also, I would say to you, talk to your nutritionist, your dietitian, a licensed dietitian that can help you more. And I'll also preface this and let you all know that supplementation is just that. It should be supplementation, and it should not be taken as a overall for your diet. Supplementation is just that. It's to supplement what you're not getting in your basic dietary plan that you have. But with that being said, let's get into this. So I'm going to start with what I know about, which is dealing with vegan and vegetarian protein sources, and then we're going to go into some supplements. One thing that Mama C asked, she was looking to add more protein sources to her diet, just for what's taking place within her life. So I'm going to say one of my favorites is hemp seed. I like hemp seed powder. I like hulled hemp seeds. Specifically, I get my brand from a store in Philadelphia called Nuts to You. They're an organic based store. They are online, I think, as well. I like their variety of, or I should say, I like their specific variety of hemp seed because it's not bitter. Certain regions, the hemp seeds can be a little bit bitter than another, and sometimes they're a little blander than another, but I like the specific brand that Nuts to You carries. So sometimes I'll go there and get their hulled hemp seed, or I'll pick up hemp seed powder, which is also very good. The hulled hemp seeds I add to my smoothies, and I add them to a variety of dishes just because they taste so good, and they're an enhancer, and they add protein to the diet. Another thing that I specifically like to use is, or I should say I eat, is tofu. Now, tofu is something that many people, we've talked about this plenty of times. It's up in the air. People are like, oh, I heard that feminizes men, and you can get what they call man breast from that. I would say to you again, this is a researchable thing. Understand, when we're touting these things and people tout these things, do the research. Soybean is placed in a lot of products, more products than we really know. So I would say, if it's being put in your food in foods that necessarily it shouldn't be in, then with anything, the more you use, or the more you overuse something, then there can be side effects. Now, I generally try to cook my own meals. Yes, this might not be something that everybody wants to hear, but I basically try to make sure I'm cooking my own home-based meals. And I purchase tofu from a specific store. So you want to research where you're getting your tofu from. You want to research the process, and you also want to research and really find out and take charge of your own eating habits. So I'll add tofu to certain dishes. It is a highly and quickly absorbable protein for muscle building, and it's great. If you're still not sold on that, I'm not going to sell you. I'm not trying to sell you. You can stay away from that. You could try edamame, which is what tofu really comes from. It's I think it's if I'm correct, it's like what is that process? Bean curd. And where they get the tofu is they take it through the process of kind of like I can't think of it, but you can Google it. But how tofu comes about is from the edamame, or the soybean plant. So edamames themselves are a great source of protein, and they're like larger peas, and they taste really good. You can make them in a variety of delicious dishes. You can just get them straight up frozen or what have you, or you can purchase them, shell them, and cook them up, and they're delicious. It's not really hard. Lentils are a delicious source of not only good fiber, but also protein. They're delicious. Chickpeas are one of my favorite. And guess what? Guess what's in hummus? Chickpeas. That's right. Chickpeas is a great way to add more protein to your diet. Let's see. Beans in general. Beans are great. They're a heart healthy food that you can use. They're good. I think they also have benefits for your circulation, and their protein. And when you mix beans with rice, guess what you get? You get a complex protein. You get a total protein, which helps to benefit muscle building. So those are things also that you can use. Seitan, or seitan, as most people sometimes call it, wheat meat, is also a good protein. It is not good for individuals who has celiac disease or are wheat sensitive. So I would tell anybody that has celiac disease or is wheat sensitive, stay away from seitan. I would focus more on other protein sources, such as the ones we spoke of previously. Tempeh is also a good one. Tempeh is a form of tofu, but it's not similar. It's not you taking through the total tofu making process that many people see. So it's kind of like fermented edamame beans, and they're oh man, how do I put it? It's like a nutty formation process, and they have a unique, delicious taste. It's not one of my favorites, but the process is totally different than what they do of typical tofu that most people have tried. And I would say research that, look it up. I've had it sometimes. Smoked tofu tempeh is pretty good, but I'm just not into it's like a crunchy. It's similar to crunchy style peanut butter, but in a harder texture, if that makes sense for everybody. So it's not one of my favorites, but it is another protein source that can be used. Green peas. Green peas are a delicious protein source to use as well. So those are some of the protein sources we can talk about, and how to add protein to your diet. Now, supplementational wise, just other supplements in general. And the reason I started with those protein sources is because many people aren't familiar with how to add protein to their diet in a natural way anyway. So now we're going to talk about protein sources or supplement sources, which would be like protein powders and things like that. So one of the protein sources that I use, which I talked about earlier, is hemp seed. I like whole hemp seeds, and I also like to use hemp seed powder. Now, whole hemp seeds are great. You can use it in your smoothie. You can use it in a variety of dishes. I typically typically get my whole hemp seeds from a store called Nuts to You in Philadelphia. They're online. I would check them out. Theirs is not their stock, or I should say, where they get their whole hemp seeds. I guess the region, it's a very nice flavor to them. They're not. They're like a slightly sweet added to them. It's not overly excessive, but it's delicious, and you can add them. I add them to a variety of my dishes. Not only that, it's just 100% just a great protein because it has so many different uses to it. Like I said, you can put it in a smoothie, you can put it in a meal. It's just a lot of uses for it if you want to add more protein to your diet. Hemp protein powder is also very good. I use a protein powder, and I'm not going to give you all the brand because I want you all to research your own brands. I'm not supporting any specific brand, but I use a specific hemp protein powder right now that has 0 sodium in it. I try to stay away from as much sodium as possible, and I only add it when I'm cooking. So that's something else to be aware of. Soy powder. Soy powder is a good source of protein. It's a quick digesting protein, which is good for muscle recuperation. I typically don't use soy protein powders. I used to, and it's not because I've had any negative effects with them. It's just, again, I try to make sure the amount of tofu I'm getting in my body. I am the one that predicts how much my body gets of a certain particular food or element in my body. So that's something I make sure, and I tell everybody you're the one who's in charge of what goes in and out of your body, what's going in and out of your mouth. So when everybody's talking about, soy does this, soy does that, if you're not controlling it, it can do a lot of things like any other food. All right, like too many greens. If you just eat greens, guess what? There's an effect that'll come just from eating much greens all the time. And I will again tell you all to research that and look that up before I just go telling you. But there's good soy powders out there that you can use, and they're good, like I said, to help you add more protein to your diet as well as for muscle recuperation. Pea protein is a very good source of protein. It's good for your heart. It has a number of amino acids in it, and it's a very good source, and it comes from yellow peas. So that's a good protein source, I would say, to use. Some people like to use brown rice extract. I think it's brown rice extract or brown rice protein, which has a good amount of protein in it. I don't typically I've used all the ones that I'm telling you about, but I don't use certain ones a lot. The most I would use right now is hemp. I would say I use the most is hemp seed and hemp protein powder. Another thing I do like to use personally, which is blanched almonds. Almonds are a good source of protein. They're a great source of fiber and calcium. And what I like to do is I'll get the blanched almonds and use the powder. It's almost like you might hear it called like a almond flour, but the almond powder is it's flaky. It's a powder, and I put it in smoothies, and I add it to certain drinks to add extra protein. I try to go as organic and natural as possible. As I've said before, I've used different supplements, but I try to really pay attention to what's going into my body and what's helping me, and that's one of the things I do use. One thing that I'm holding right now is black seed oil. So black seed oil is something that's very good. It has a variety of benefits to the body. Let me see if I can break down. Did I have it up? I don't have it up right now. So let's see if I can. I don't have that in front of me, so I'll get back to that. But another supplement that I have right now which I'm holding, is ashwagandha, and it's a healthy stress response. This is good to help your nervous system, in a sense, I don't want to say reset itself, but it'll help it to calm itself, to really help recover. So if you're doing heavy workouts, heavy strenuous workouts, or you've taxed yourself, ashwagandha is good for a lot of men out there. It has a variety. It's supposed to be good for virility, so I take it occasionally. I span off of it sometimes, but it's something that I would suggest that you research as well. And some people have different effects from it. I would say, again, know your pre-existing condition before you get too far into it, and do research. What else do I have? Basic essential amino acids that I take. Now, I like to use basically, I've used brewer's yeast, and I used to like brewer's yeast, and I thought it had effects, but I started noticing for myself that it would give me, I guess, some type of heartburn or something like that. I don't know why, but so I stopped using it. I do use nutritional yeast, and I add that to certain dishes that I'm taking, and that just adds other minerals and proteins to my diet. I use that as supplementation. Also, when I'm making a dish, a vegan dish, and I want to have like a cheesy taste to my dish, I'll add some nutritional yeast, and that's very good. Like I said, I'm also holding in my hand essential amino acid complex, which I purchased, and this is just for when I feel like, okay, I think I need some additional amino acids in my diet that I may not be getting from the food that I'm eating. I don't take it all the time. I only take it when I feel that I need to, and it's something that I've learned to try to pay attention. One supplementation I do want to bring to the forefront that I think most of us need to focus on, that we don't get enough of, and it's a macronutrient in my book. In my opinion, and in my book, it's one of the biggest things that we need to often focus on, and that's hydration, and that's water. Water, yes, a lot of us do not drink enough water. Our muscles, our bodies, I think our body is 75% water. So all these things that we take, if we don't use and drink water to move these nutrients, to move and the oxygen throughout our body, to do the things necessary to help our cognitive abilities, to help our muscles, I think I read a study one day. They were saying, like, just being slightly dehydrated affects your muscle output by like 15%. That's a lot. Just think if as you're going throughout the day, you're working out, you're doing things, the summer months and things like that, you're sweating, you're talking, you're going to the bathroom. That's a lot. That's a lot of sweat, and that's a lot of fluids that you're losing. Even right now, while I'm talking to you all out there, I'm sweating, I'm talking. You know what I mean? So I have to hydrate before I go into the gym. Hydration and water is one of the most, it's such an important thing that we don't do enough of. You need to drink as much water as possible. Get the best fresh air as possible. And again, I will say this before I end this segment. Supplementation is just that, people. It's not meant to take the place of food. It's not meant to take the place of the things that we need to function. It's a supplement. It's to help. It's an accessory to your already to your diet, to the things that's going on within your body. So remember that a balanced diet is always going to win over whatever supplement that you use. I did have a question, or I just have somebody ask a question about creatine. We're not going to have time for that right now. Maybe we'll talk about that later. I did have some another question about with DHEA and the benefits of that with older individuals, older men, older women, and it does have some benefits, but we're not going to have the time to talk about that. Hopefully, perhaps next time in another show, we're going to bring that up and we'll have some individuals with more experience with DHEA and talk about that. But we're going to get ready to move on. And I hope we've answered your questions. As always, like I said before, if you have any more questions and topics that you want us to talk about, please email us at delafit13@gmail.com, or you can contact us at www.delafitpodcast.com. Also, you can leave a message. If you listen to us on Anchor, you can leave a voice message. Just go to our profile, click on where it says leave us a message, and we also have our new hotline, which is up. And I'll get you that number right away. Hold on. That's a 267 number. I'm so bad with this, you guys. You know how I am when it comes to taking information very quickly from my phone. But that is, wait, let's see if I can get it. Can I get it? My phone wants to act up. Oh my gosh. My phone always likes to act up when I need its help. That number is 267-908-5689, and you can contact us there at the De La Fit Podcast hotline. All right, we're going to go to our next segment. You know where you're at. You're here with the De La Fit Podcast. Let's get it, guys. Hey, you, with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcasts. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. So we come to the end of our podcast for this week, everybody. I just want to thank all of our listeners and supporters who have continuously been behind us, showing us all of the support and inspiration, flooding us with ideas and topics and questions. We thank you so much. We continue to grow because of the things that you offer us, the information and the questions, and we hope that you are growing out there as well. All of your support is so welcome, and so we're just thankful. We're just truly thankful for everything that you all do and say for us. And our hopes is that we continue to make this a valuable resource for you. We want this to be a resource where you can feel as though you can come and tune into the De La Fit podcast and ask a question and hear from the best people to answer that question. We also want you to think that and know that we are looking for the best and brightest minds to talk to you about things that can help you. And that's what we're ceaselessly and continuously working on daily. So with that, again, we thank you so much. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If you have any questions, if you have any topics you would like us to touch on dealing with the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health that we deal with here, please don't be a stranger. Send us an email at delafit13@gmail.com or contact us at www.delafitpodcast.com. You can hit us up on Anchor and leave us a message. Just go to where it says our profile or our liner notes and click the message button, or you can contact us on our hotline, which is, hold on, you would think I would learn to eventually just keep it there so that everybody can hear it, but you have no idea what goes on when I'm when I'm in the process of recording and people are sending emails and things like that. But you can also contact us at our hotline, which is 267-908-5689, and leave us a voice message there, or you can find us on our social media, which is De La Fit Podcast on Facebook, and leave us a message there. You can also find us on Instagram at day_la_fit podcast. Feel free, leave us a message about any topic. We will get back to you. We will respond. We will talk with you. If you want us to bring back a guest, if you have a question for that guest, please don't be a stranger. Listen, this is the family. This is what it is right here. This is the village. And I have said this so many times, but the truth of it is that it takes a village to raise a child. We are all somebody's child. And that means we are all here to each one, teach one, and help one another. So that means we're a family and we need to act like a family. With that being said, please love yourself. Therefore, you will love others. And have a beautiful, wonderful weekend. Peace.
You've been listening to the Delafit podcast. Ta-ta for now.